Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation TV with your host, Jeff Charles. The Supreme Court has spoken, and New York's gun licensing scheme has gone the way of CNN+. The decision is seen as a major victory for the pro-Second Amendment crowd, but what comes next? I have with me Liberty Nation's legal affairs editor, Scott Cosenza, to discuss. Welcome to the program, Scott.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, and so why have you been smiling all day? Anything happen?
Well, it's quiet news week, I guess. The lead-in is a little incorrect. Not technically, it is New York's licensing scheme that's gone the way of the dodo bird, but it's all licensing schemes in the United States that rely on the whim of the bureaucrat to decide who gets what. People who don't know about these gun rules, just to make it clear to them. Imagine if you went for a driver's license and you met the vision requirements, you passed the written test and the driving test, and they said, yeah, but you really need to drive a car. I mean, we've got, this crisis with carbon and whatever else, and you had to convince them that you really, really, really needed it. That's the state of gun licensure in several jurisdictions in the United States, covering, I think, almost 25% of the people, even though it's only like 6 states, DC, Puerto Rico, 25% of people live under regimes that have this kind of restrictive licensing, and that's gone away now.
So so just to make sure people understand, I mean, a lot of these states may issue states which do exactly what you described. I mean, even if you go through all the hoops, they still have the final say in whether you need a firearm or not. So does this essentially turn may issue states into shall issue states, where they will grant you the license if you go through all the hoops, no matter what?
Yes.
Wow, that's huge. Like I did not expect just a one-word answer from you on that.
An unqualified yes, that's what it does. Now, to be, not to give people who live in perhaps like California or New York a false sense of they're going to be able to walk out tomorrow and get a gun license, they're probably not. And what becomes qualified, I expect, and I use the scare quotes there, because what I expect is that they'll jack up what is qualified. So now maybe you have to take an 8-hour course in order to pass muster and a physical, and maybe they make that a 40-hour course, and they make it with you have to get like a psychologist to sign off on it or some other. And I would expect that unless it's really outrageous, I would expect that the federal courts would probably say that that's an allowable restriction. But also, if you're willing to go through that course and you're willing to get that doctor sign off, unlike yesterday, you can now get the actual license. So it's still massive progress. Not perfect, but boy, what a leap ahead.
It definitely a step in the right direction. Now, the opinion was written by your favorite Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas.
He certainly is now. He was Gorsuch and he were like this, and then Clarence
pulled ahead
on his birthday, no less.
Yeah. So what was the rationale that he laid out?
Jeff, the rationale is that carrying a gun at the time of the founding, at the time the Second Amendment was adopted, was an ordinary thing that people did, and to act like it's extraordinary, which is what New York does, is inappropriate. And so Thomas said that, requiring, it would be like saying, you want to publish a newspaper? Whoa. That's not ordinary speech. Ordinary speech is just two people talking, walking down the street. That's extraordinary speech. So you have to have a special use case to want to publish a newspaper. That's sort of the analogy for the Second Amendment. And Thomas writes and got agreement from 5 other justices, which is important, meaning it is a 6-3 decision. So if we lose one, we still have, I say we, I probably shouldn't, but that's sort of how I feel about it. I'm obviously pro-gun enthusiast and pro-gun rights. So that's the rationale that Thomas used, was that at the time of the passage of the Second Amendment, this was an ordinary course. There's an interesting side note, I think it's interesting anyway, about the difference between a license and a permit. New York calls its permission slip to carry a gun a license. And licenses, legally speaking, are generally granted for things that are ordinary in the usual course of business, like a license to drive a car. You don't have a permit to drive a car.
Yeah, it's a license.
You may, but you do get a permit to use dynamite to blast a mine or something like that, right? So a permit is sort of a different order thing. So anyway.
So what is this going to do, this ruling? What's it going to do to the overall landscape when it comes to gun rights?
Oh, Jeff, this is a monster. We won't know until we look back with the benefit of history. But one of the provisions of this decision is that all laws impacting a Second Amendment right basically have to be greeted with a stricter level of scrutiny than they have been by the appellate courts. And so what this means is, I'm just thinking of all the restrictions of like where people can carry, how they can carry, what types of guns they can buy and how they can buy them, all that now have to pass through a stricter lens of scrutiny per the Supreme Court's ruling. So this is like a full employment act for lawyers to sue, states, municipalities, counties for all of the many slights they have against the Second Amendment on their books. And I expect that we'll see years worth of litigation going forward, especially from the more reluctant gun grabbers who won't go, quietly into the night.
Well, a lot of people would like the idea of the people passing these gun laws to go through more scrutiny than law-abiding people who want to obtain firearms. So I definitely see how it moves things forward there. Now, you alluded to some of the things that Democrats are going to do to counter this ruling. New York City Mayor Eric Adams already came out and said they're going to be looking at restrictions on where you can carry your gun and things like that. How far can they go as far as policies to restrict gun use without having this May issue policy? Will people have to like run 5 miles and go through a battery of tests and go on an adventure to be able to qualify, or how far can they go?
Call your local CrossFit and get ready, for that physical qualification.
Yes.
The courts are going to have to let us know, Jeff, only after they're sued, because what's going to happen is the especially strident politicians playing with the taxpayer wallet, by the way, because just to be clear, what happens is if they don't faithfully implement the court's decision and they continue to erect barriers that are impermissible under it, when people sue for them not getting their licenses, they're going to have to pay money damages. So all these promises to we're not going to take this lying down. That's like, with the unlimited checkbook of the people's purse, they're going to fight for their preferred political outcome. So I would expect we're just going to have to wait and see how it gets fought out in the courts. I expect that California and really, one of the reasons why there are only 6 left is because they are the most hostile places where they're only Democrat control. Any place where there's a whiff of some kind of party competition, they have liberal, for lack of a better word, carry laws, more permissive carry laws. So that just tells you that a strict no carry may issue type of scheme only can exist where there is no competition from Democrat leadership and Democrat rule, which is kind of interesting. Even states that are purplish, they have concealed carry. It's only these states where Democrats control everything that they can't get it through. And so they're the most strident anti-gunners, and I expect that they're going to try to use the law to frustrate this civil right rather than celebrate it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expect too. We're going to see another season of litigation, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more cases at the Supreme Court level again. But for the pro-gun crowd, this is definitely a huge step in the right direction. So I'm sure you and I will be keeping an eye on it as gun owners. But thanks for joining the program, Scott.
Thank you, Jeff.
And remember, the show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thank you for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, where truth is making a comeback.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
Maybe tracking polls sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.